I don't know how recent I've given the must-win speech, so I'm gonna give the must-win speech real quick here. There are certain things in sports media that you just gotta, like, if you're in the business, you gotta lock onto. One of them for me is I try not to overplay certain phrases, certain things. There's back before we knew the complicated off the mic stuff, there was a Louis C.K. stand-up bit on the term amazing and how amazing is so overused now. Someone will say, like, oh my gosh, did you look at the wallpaper in the bathroom? It's amazing. And his whole thing was like, we used to reserve that for like the most beautiful sunsets our eyes have ever seen had to be amazing. Now it's like, oh my gosh, you see the screensaver on my phone? It moves. That's amazing. So I have a few like that. One of them is must win. To me, must win has become so unbelievably overused because you'll go into a Monday night game and it'll be, this is a must win game for the New Orleans Saints. And then they lose. And I'm like, well, what happened? If they had to win, how dramatically have you changed your thoughts on this team? If they lose a must-win game, are you now saying they are incapable of making the playoffs? They had to win that game to make the playoffs. Or was it a must-win to keep their coach's job? Or was it a must-win to whatever, stay in the race with their rival? What made it must? So because of that, I very rarely say it. I actually, let me get the one caveat. Any elimination game is must win, and that's obvious. Right? We talked about this a lot in the Canes postseason. Like, if you call game 2 must win of a 7-game series, it better be, if they lose this one, you're now saying they're going to lose the series. A game 7 obviously fits, right? Hey, it's must win. Game 7, yeah, if you lose, you're going home. We know that. So there's a football team this weekend that I'm considering a must-win. It's not tonight's Thursday night game. It's not the Panthers against the Bears. It's the Tarheels. UNC has a must-win game this weekend versus Pitt. Which, by the way, let me make sure it hasn't changed. Pitt is favored by 2.5 points. And it is a must-win for UNC. And going from 3-0 to 3-3 is bad. Don't get, like, a 3-game losing streak is bad. But that alone doesn't make it a must-win. Being 500, I mean, if you go back to the beginning of the year, our expectations for UNC weren't that they were going to win, they weren't going to finish 10-2. So it's not like, oh, that third win means it's impossible to reach their expectations. We weren't that high. So 3-3 is doable. The record alone doesn't scare me that much. It's how it happened. 70 points allowed to James Madison. The 20-point lead that you squandered against Duke. The rumors or misinterpretations or game of telephone that didn't go well after the James Madison game, where there was a report that in the locker room, Mack Brown said, "I'm walking away." It's the quarterback shuffle. And you may say, well, the Max Johnson injury, that's not their... No, it's not their fault. An injury is nobody's fault. You hate them for everybody. But if you recall, going into game 1, I was sitting here into this microphone saying, I don't like the way they're handling the quarterback position. The secrecy, we're not going to name a starter, we're not putting out a depth chart. And then they did it again 3 weeks later with Connor Harrell, who was in the mix with Max Johnson, and Jacoby Criswell. It's not just the losses. It's the unsettled nature of the team in those losses. So UNC must win this game against Pitt. If you're going to be chaotic, you better win games. And if you're not going to be chaotic, I think you win the game. Like, if they have a stable game, something normal, which I've been saying they haven't had all season, just a normal game, a lot of Omari and Hampton, few turnovers. You don't have to have a 20-point comeback in either direction. You don't have a quarterback change. You don't have anything crazy. I think they win the game.
It's weird that the Duke game was probably their closest to normal that they've had.
And they gave up a 20-point lead with 8 minutes left in the third quarter.
Yeah.
How normal.
Hey, it was normal for about 2.5 quarters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if that would have continued, I wouldn't be calling this a must-win.
Yeah.
If you have the strongest culture and the most established leaders, and you have a locker room that has been set in stone with communication and production and everything else, you can survive weekly chaos for 5 weeks. UNC doesn't have that right now. They don't have the strongest culture, the most stable and established leaders. They have a coach that the fan base is calling for to be parted ways with. They have a different quarterback, although this will be the third consecutive week of Jacoby Criswell. They're maybe finally getting some stability there, but they haven't had stability at that position throughout the season. There's been injuries. Kamen Rucker in and out of the lineup. USC doesn't have stable footing right now, and a win is either a mark that they found stable footing, or a win would buy them another week to get stable footing. Because right now I watch their games, and there's outside of, I'm pretty sure Omarion Hampton's going to have a good game. Outside of that, there's very little like you expect. And think of it like, I use this example. What was it, two or 3 weeks ago? Kansas City got down 10, and it was a nationally televised game. It was a Monday night or a Thursday night or something, maybe a Sunday night game. They got down 10, and my wife, who watches football because I watch football, but she's not like, studying analytics, just kind of casually was like, oh, he'll come back, talking about Mahomes. And I went like, that is the mark of a great culture, a stable locker room that believes in each other, that obviously 3 Super Bowls and 2 of the last 2 Super Bowls would build. But it's when everybody is just confident and oh, look, I know exactly how this is going to go. They got down 10. He's going to, start doing the little hand thing where he's asking for the play, the Mahomes thing, where he's like, come on, give me the play. Say it in my ears. I want to get to the line of scrimmage. He's going to find Travis Kelce. They're going to win the game. For UNC, is there anything possible that you watch a play, you watch a series, and you just go, all right, this is going to happen? That could be anything. All right, they're gonna get a touchdown. All right, they're gonna run the ball a bunch. All right, now they're gonna win. There's nothing. If so many other teams that are just a little bit in a better situation, there's things you can predict. All right, it's 3rd and 12. All right, they're probably going to run a draw and punt it because they trust their defense. UNC, it's 3rd and 12. What the heck are they going to do? You can tell me Jacoby Criswell is going to sling it as far as his arm can throw it. You can tell me they're going to hand it off to Omarion Hampton. You can tell me they're going to try to find Bryson Nesbitt. You could tell me they're going to quick kick, and I'd be like, oh, that's kind of fair. You could tell me they're going to pick up the first down, and there's going to be a penalty back for holding, and I'd go, that makes sense. There's no way to predict this team. 3-3 is bad. 3-3 when you start 3-0 is worse. 3-3 when you start 3-0 and have yet to have really any form of semblance of consistency, both in vibe or production. That's where I make this a must-win. Pitt, worthy adversary, right? Which is important in this case, right? They're a good measuring stick. Undefeated, by the way. Not the scariest of schedules, but they did beat West Virginia. They did beat Cincinnati, both in close games. So they'll show up for a game. ACC, there's a lot going on there. UNC must win the game, and I don't take it lightly. If they don't, early next week, we'll have to have some conversations about how much our expectations have been lowered and how certain things that they thought and probably we thought they could go achieve are no longer on the table. There will be real consequences, which have to come with a must-win game.